show. And I hope you are having a lovely time around learning, growing, expanding, and evolving each day as we are pursuing this course of MBA and also living life adventurously as well. So, as we start our topic, we'll be addressing today on HRM. And in HRM, as you're aware, we'll be addressing today in HRM the three elements of people management within the organization and how is the HR role important in these three areas. And three areas that we are going to undertake today are 1. Recruitment, 2. Induction, and 3. Training. So all three well equipped from the stages. If you understand from where are we coming from as far as HR is concerned, we are coming from HRP, Human Resource Planning, where we have done a job analysis, we have job described it, and then the next level of recruitment and selection will go into how to induct employee once the recruitment and selection is done, and then the next step, how do you train people on them. So it's a kind of cascade or sequential events that are put together. So now as we move on, let's take up the first topic, that is recruitment and selection process. Before we actually delve into it or dive into it, let me tell you that a lot of time it is being said as far as any organizational success is concerned, it is said that two things are important as far as people are concerned. Number 1, see to it that the bus is full. Now bus here is symbolic or is a metaphor for an organization. See to it first that the bus is full. Number 2, see to it that each person is sitting at the right seat. Now important, that means the first statement saying that the bus should be full means that there should not be any vacancies available. If at all attrition is there, it is being kind of, the transition is smooth in terms of people replacing people who have left. And 2, right person at the right job is also important. So it's not only about talent and skill selection, but also seeing that those selected people are deputed and inducted at the right place where the skill sets are given an opportunity to grow and flourish. So with this premise in the backdrop, let's understand this process of recruitment and selection. The content, the standard structure that we will always follow, the topic outlines that we cover in this first maybe half an hour to 40 minutes about recruitment and selection would be, we will look into the topic itself, introduction. We'll look into the meaning and definition, the recruitment process. We'll look into selection, its meaning and definition, and also the selection process itself. And how these two are relevant from the organizational perspective as well. We'll look into those dimensions as well. Okay, let's start with recruitment. So first, recruitment forms the first stage in the process which continues with selection and ceases with placement of the candidate. Placement of candidate within the organization. Now, this is the first step. Now, recruitment and selection are two steps, but recruitment is the first step in that process. And recruitment makes it possible to acquire the number and type of people necessary to ensure that the continued operation of the organization. Now, recruitment has to do with attracting the people for the said available job description. That is till this stage it is called as recruitment, and also ensuring that the right kind of people are attracted based on the job description. Meaning and definition, in simple terms, if you are to ask me, recruitment is understood as a process of searching and obtaining applicants for jobs among the available recruits. So it's also in a way to kind of shortlist people. The shortlist the right kind of people with the right jobs. Now, right here represents the kind of relational impact that they have. That means suitability or adaptability between the job and the applicant is what here it means as far as relating to each other means. Okay, purpose, why recruitment is important, and let me tell you, recruitment has been important now so all the more like never before, for the simple reason that everything is a cascade and a stepwise process. Now, if in this process of recruitment and selection itself, if the right kind of people are selected, then you will see how it impacts the organizational thing. And especially when era or time that we are living in, where customers want more, where from an organizational perspective they want to deliver more in terms of its products or services. It also means that if that is the case, that customer loyalty has to be developed, and if customer loyalty has to be developed, we know that the people in HRM, we always know that people are assets, the human intangible assets. A lot of time it's intangible. Performance is maybe the only one skill where it is tangible, but there are lots of intangible or really not measurable areas that a human value provides to an organization. We have, if you have gone through the other lecture as well, you might have understood till now that humans who are working, the people who are working in the organization are brand ambassadors. They are the people who represent the organization by their conduct, by their moral values, their ethics, their behaving, their conditioning, all impacts the image of the organization. So herein the purpose being placing the right person in the right place at the right time. Now, right time, yes, right time. That means not only you should look at what are the job description of the available job, but also what the applicant is all about, the right person. And also right time here means maybe about the what age cycle the participant is in. Now, people who are at a younger age, for example, are more mobile generally, to speak so. So if it's a profession maybe related or domain related to sales where mobility is important, so that age category also is important. So placing the right person at the right place and at right time is critical. Seeing to it that you attract and encourage more and more candidates to apply in the organization. Seeing to it that the maximum talent is attracted based on the job description. The best available talent is attracted. To enable the selection of best candidates for the organization. So if you're attracting the best candidates, chances are among those the selected would be the best as well. So that's the purpose. And also to increase the productivity of the organization. That goes without saying that if you are selecting the best or the best available option at that point of time, then obviously it means or translates into performance as well. So you're ensuring in a way that you have the right kind of people in the bus or on board. The meaning. Now, when we say in the meaning, where do we get the meaning as far as the job is concerned? Now, the meaning of any job comes from job description, which comes from job analysis and which is part of HRP or human resource planning. So now when we say job description, now job description is a simple, concisely written statement. Important to mention over here, a written statement. explaining the contents and essential needs of the job and the summary of the duties to be performed as well. Now, what are the roles and responsibilities as well? It gives a precise picture of features of each job in terms of task content and occupational requirements as well. So in short, if you want to put it, job description is defining what the job is all about in terms of roles and responsibility. And also, for example, if you see any classifieds or if you go to any Naukri monster jobs ahead kind of portal or big vacancy kind of portal, you will find that every job, the title is there, which is called as job title or job designation, which is followed by a job description. That means roles and responsibility is definitely mentioned, and after that comes the job specification. That means understand, be it a job description or specification, it is a written statement. So job specification is a statement of minimum acceptable human qualities necessary to perform a job satisfactorily. It translates the job description into terms of human qualifications required for successful completion of a job. Now, on one hand, we have a job description. That means what roles and responsibility this particular job has. Now, based on that, what are the qualifications required by this job from this individual who is going to do the job? That means it could be educational qualification, it could be experience, it could be the domain experience, it could be the domain expertise, it could be people management, it could be about motivation, it could be task orientation, it could be the attitudinal specification, lots of things. So when we are defining a particular job for recruitment, these two are important tangible areas which you will find, and these are written specifications: the job description and job specification. So if you see any advertisement of any job with a title, you will always find the job description and the specification. Now, if you see in the recruitment and selection process, the HRP, we have seen that the human resource planning helps to determine the number and size type of people in an organization. And when we say HRP or planning of human resource, in HRP, a good background study is done through job analysis. And when we're discussing job analysis, we understood that a background understanding could be about the marketplace, the market scenario, the competitors available, what are the growth rates of that particular domain in which the company wants to offer its products or services. And based on that, it will decide what numbers of jobs are required. Say, for example, how many engineers, how many workmen, how many telecallers, depending on which functional area the organization works in, how many type or kind of people are required, and the number specifications as well. That's part of HRP, which determines the recruitment and selection needs. Based on this, the job analysis defines the job design and specify the task and duties of the job and the qualifications expected from prospective job holders. So from a job analysis, we get to know that the job description and specification, what kind of qualification is needed of that particular job holder. So in the process, if we want to put it into step by step, it involves planning, strategy development, searching, screening, evaluation and control are the 5 processes for recruitment process. Understand, we'll bifurcate this into 2 areas. One, the recruitment process, and the selection process separately. So the recruitment process standalone constitutes of planning, strategy development, searching, screening and evaluation. So the first step, planning. The first stage in the recruitment process is planning, and it involves the translation of likely job vacancies and information about the nature of these jobs into a set of objectives. Now it's important this line, set of objective is targets that specify the number and type of applicant to be planned. Let's understand this by an example. Suppose NTPC, National Thermal Power Corporation, decides, or any thermal plant decides that it wants to set up a new thermal plant, and it decides the location as well. Say it wants to start in Chhattisgarh. Reasons why Chhattisgarh could be because proximity to resources, that is coal for thermal plant is essential, water essential as well. It could be also in terms of manpower and labor that is required for development and maintenance of a thermal plant. So once this is required, this is done, they will think, okay, what size? Okay, they will think, okay, for a 500 megawatt kind of thermal plant, they want to set up in Chhattisgarh, for example. They will think, okay, for this much size of the plant, maybe we require around 200 odd engineers, based on the size of the plant, what are the initial jobs. So if you see, initially civil engineers would be required more because it's about installing the plant itself. Then also coupled up with mechanical and electrical engineering. Then in the later stage also, or accompanied alongside also, IT and computer science engineers as well. Yes or no? And so that's how things are rolled in. And it's important that once we have a target outline, in this example that we studied, we have a 500 megawatt kind of power plant. We exactly know this is what we are going to go about it. And then based on that, they will kind of divide into how many people they want. This is only about engineers, but they will also require people as labor. Now it could be outsourced or on roll. It could be also craftsmen on the shop floor. Maybe they want to outsource that to contractual laborers. So all this will be decided in the planning stage itself, and is critical and crucial both. And understand that this is not a one-time affair, especially if it's an installation of a plant. Yeah, big investment in terms of planning comes in the initial stage, but it's not a one-time affair. It keeps on, it's a continuous process. The reason being that the design keeps on changing as market is changing, and also during the entire cycle of any company, the things keep evolving as well. So planning is a process even for recruitment as well. Then strategy development. So in strategy development, once they have decided, okay, we want this many number of people or employees, maybe as engineers, as workmen or craftsmen or architect or civil engineers, they will think of various available options to them. Maybe make or buy employees. Make means they are on roll, they are on payroll of the organization. Buy, they might outsource it to a third party, or really put it on contractual labor. Second, it could be technological sophistication of recruitment and selection devices. So it could be also in terms of how the process needs to be rolled out in terms of recruitment and selection process. So what kind of technology it requires? The geographical distribution of labor market comprising job seekers. So we have an entire picture in terms of what are the job numbers, job types, what kind of job types, and what kind of people would be required for the same. Then sources of recruitment. Sources of recruitment could be either internal or external. So one was planning. The second step in recruitment was strategizing. Third, searching. In searching, it starts with source activation. Now, source activation takes place when a job vacancy exists in the organization. If the organization has planned and well done a good job of developing its source and search methods, activation soon results in flood of application. It's important that for any organization, source activation need to be really groomed and developed and nurtured well, because the attrition is a continuous process. People come and certain people go as well. So source activation is important, that the network should be very clear. Okay, once the vacancy is generated, you have an HR team that looks after sourcing of employees. So sourcing could be via consultants, it could be through print media, it could be through job portals, it could be through trade fairs. So it kind of connects very fast. So then once the source activation is done, then selling it. Now selling in this case is both the message and media deserve attention in the organization. That means message refers to the employment advertisements, media refers to the source of any recruitment message. So what kind of message that they want to give out through the sourcing agent? For example, it could be for employment exchanges or advertisement in business magazines. So one is source activation and two is selling. Now sources of recruitment, if you see, it could be internal or external. The internal sources could be present employee in terms of reference, where either a reference or the present employee is available to the next position. It could be the rotation, it could be promotion, it could be either of those, where people is looked after as an internal source for the position. Or transfers from one location to other location, or one job function to other job function. It could be promotion, it could be a demotion, it could be also empaneling somebody of a retired employee as well, having expertise skill in a particular segment. These are various internal sources. The external sources of recruitment are advertisements, educational institutes, placement agencies or outsourcing. It could be employment exchanges, it could be labor contractors, walk-ins, it could be walk-in interview or employee referrals. So the two sources, internal, external, a comprehensive list goes like this. Then comes screening. Now the process of screening, understand we are still in recruitment. We have not got into selection. Now when we say screening, we are saying screening of the available searches that being done. And screening is an important element of recruitment, because one, you ensure that the best talent is attracted to. Two, you save the cost of the company by eliminating the unwanted one. Also, since you are attracting the best talent, chances of you retaining the best talent is also there. That means they are going to deliver results as well. The next step definitely is screening. So in screening, it is the purpose of screening is to remove from the recruitment process at an early stage those applicants who are visibly unqualified for the job. Two things are important over here. One, at an early stage to remove visibly unqualified for the job. Now, at a deeper level, you can't make out just from the recruitment process whether the candidate is actually there or not. But there are few tangible measurement tools through which, and there are various processes by which people screen out before selection process happens. Now a question that normally comes up is, why this screening is important? What if people go ahead after recruitment to selection. Now, the biggest challenge is if a person goes out to a selection process. Say, for example, the point is for selection. Now, selection includes the whole gamut of operation that includes group discussion, screening out, personal interview, technical interviews. Now, all these aspects of selection process involve cost. Hence, the minimum time devoted to selection is better. So, if you can effectively screen out in the recruitment process itself, the overload is less or the load itself is less at the selection end. Hence, they can do more quality work in terms of drawing out the best talent from the available resource. So when we say effective screening can save a great deal of time and money as well. Care must be exercised also that the potentially good employees are not lost. Since screening happens, and in screening, the objective is that the unwanted employees are discarded or removed off. But the threat remains that the potential good employees might also be screened off. So, the point is, what kind of tool do you have for screening is important. So, it could be through judgment, it could be through experience, it could be psychometrics, it could be any of those tools that you're using is important for the screening process. Then after screening is evaluation and control. Now this is the last step as far as recruitment process is concerned. When we say evaluation control, it is necessary as considerable costs are incurred in the recruitment process. Also, statistical information should be gathered and evaluated to know the suitability of the recruitment process. That means that at each of these 5 layers within the process need to be evaluated and checked and given a feedback so that each level is fine-tuned so that the best kind of people hold back and stays back. Hence, evaluation is primarily done to draw feedback from the process, and if any changes need to be done, should be done. So that, and it's a process, it's a journey. It's not that you only evaluate once or twice or thrice. It's a journey, and why it's also a journey is because market is dynamic in the sense that the job description will not be the same as years roll down. One, the market has changed, hence the job description will change, hence the job roles and responsibilities will alter, hence the applicant profiling will change, and based on these changes, the description and the specification changes as well. Hence, evaluation control needs to be dynamic in orientation. So, we have seen these 5 stages of recruitment as a process. Now we will look into the second half of this process of recruitment and selection, that is selection. So, let's understand one by definition, meaning, importance, and the process itself. So, what is selection? Now, selection has been regarded as the most important function of HR department. In fact, this is where this as a job function from where the HR came into prominence. This was one of the very prime functions right from age-old days when it was called a personnel department, where the key job functions were less, but still selection of the candidate was always considered the key responsibility of the HR. And what does it ensure? It ensures that the organization that it has the right number, right kind of people at the right place at the right time. Hence, selection is crucial. And selection is also composed of various elements The meaning and definition, if you look into, it's a process of differentiating between applicants in order to identify those with a greater likelihood of success. The overall intention of doing a selection process is there might be say 10 applicants for one job. Their job qualification remain the same, might be the years of experience remain the same. So what are the other few tangibles that need to be evaluated and checked and looked into so that we can forecast that this particular person is going to give maximum results of performance based on whatever his performance evaluation criteria is. And this is a forecasting based on which how the company would be successful if we select a particular kind of individual. So it's a crucial link for the organization. The process: 1. Preliminary interview. 2. Selection test. 3. Employment interview. 4. Reference and background check, which has become very prominent these days. The selection decision, physical examination, job offer, and contract of employment, and then leading on to evaluation of the selection program itself. As we did in recruitment process, in selection process also evaluation becomes important. So I repeat the process and we'll go into each of these one by one. Preliminary interview, selection test, employment interview, reference and background check, the selection decision, whether it's yes or no, physical examination, job offer, contract of employment, and evaluation of selection program. So let's take it one by one. Preliminary interview. Now the purpose of this interview is to scrutinize the applicant in that the elimination of unqualified applicants. So first screening kind of has happened at the recruitment level itself. That was the first filter. We call these as filters. So that was the first filter. In the selection process, the first step itself becomes preliminary interview, where the second filter is put in, where people can be sorted out and still the best available and suitable hold back. Then it could be also based on selection tests. The selection tests, there are different types of selection tests to be administered depending on the job and the company. Now generally tests are used to determine the applicant's ability, aptitude, and personality. So here is where psychometric tools comes in as such tests are concerned. It could be physical tests as well if we are going for defense services. So selection test here comes in. Then the employment interview. Now the next step in the selection process is the employment interview. An interview is conducted at the beginning, and the selection process of the employment interview can be done one-on-one interview. So interviews could be many types. It could be one-on-one, it could be one-to-many, also called as panel interview. It could be the HR interview. It could be a technical interview. So based on what the company demands, as was specified by job analysis, would be taken up. So this is the employment interview. After employment interview comes the reference and the background checks. Now many employers request names, addresses, telephone numbers of reference for the purpose to verify information and gaining additional background information of an applicant. So one of the good reference and background check that is currently being done to a great extent is calling up the past employer from where the employee is coming, speaking to the HR department or maybe to his immediate reporting boss, and taking a feedback from the concerned person about the employee. So You might ask, how does it help you? Because any past employer, we always tell good things, maybe, but need not necessarily be. Suppose, and personally to our experience, it has been found that if the person has really had ethical issues in terms of ethical or moral issues or critical attitude issues, these normally matters come forward in these reference checks. So these reference checks might sound very formal to start off with, but sometimes they are very crucial and give real good insights as far as information is concerned. Then the selection decision as to whether this employee needs to be kept or not. That means the selection decision is the most critical of all the steps in selection process, because these are all the steps, but we have not decided yet. So it's a kind of judgment time or a decision time. The final decision has to be made from the pool of individuals who pass the test, interviews and reference checks as well. The physical examination. So once the selection is done, then comes the physical examination. Physical examination is done by all companies these days just to check on the longevity, the physical health. It could be based on eyesight, the physical mobility in terms of speed of walking. It could be about tactile functions, about picking up things, because all this forms a part of the job function. So after selection decision, before the job offer is made, important is to notice job offer is not made yet. The candidate is required to undergo a physical fitness test. The job offer is often contingent upon the candidate being declared fit after the physical examination. So for every organization this is being done. Once after the physical examination is done and said a yes and go ahead, then only the next step comes in of job offer. So job offer is the next step in the selection process, that is made through a letter of appointment. So here is a physical letter, it could be a soft letter as well. Such a letter generally contains a date by which the appointee must report on duty. So during the selection process or in the recruitment process also, a step is involved how soon you could join or how long is your notice period. For some it could be 15 days, for few, especially if you're on the higher end of the hierarchy chain, it could be 3 months as well. So based on that, the job offer is made and also the appointment date is also mentioned. And in job offer, date are crucial link for anybody's career. And that's also something that is being checked into, especially in the selection process. Then the contract of the employment. Now basic information is written in contract of employment that varies according to the levels of job. After the offer and acceptance of a job, certain document is also required in the attested form as well. And then obviously as applies to recruitment or to selection, definitely evaluation happens. Evaluation of the selection process. Now, a broad test of effectiveness of the selection process is a systematic evaluation where a periodic audit is conducted by the HR department that outlines and highlights the areas which need to be evaluated in the selection process. So, this is one of the good audit that the HR department conducts. Evaluation on one on recruitment and the other on selection process. Now, inferences from the evaluation could be that maybe do we need to add a psychometric tool? Do we need to continue a few tools which might not be relevant in today's time? So all these need to be checked in, or few tools that need to be added. For example, for a job requirement, it was seen that maybe height is important, or physical appearance, a pleasing personality has become maybe more important on certain job functions. That could be incorporated as well if required. Or maybe basic aptitude score. That means his cognitive understanding of numbers for certain job functions might be very important. So doing a basic aptitude test and giving a benchmark or threshold that above 60% is the minimum benchmark below which you will not be shortlisted. So these are few examples based on which the evaluation feedback is feed forward from the inputs taken from each of this process and this part of HR audit. So once we have done this recruitment selection, we'll look into 5 effects of bad recruitment. Or let me tell you, if you have a bad recruitment, and which might happen in the process as we are growing and evolving, you definitely have few things that will always be seen in any job front. One, lack skills to do the job. Because if you have not tested the person's skill, he will lack that skill. Or lack of willingness. Lack of willingness is an attitudinal area. Willingness to do the job. It could be in terms of taking initiative. It could be about commitment. It could be about walking the talk. It could be about punctual. Lots of things about attitudinal issues. Low performance. If all these are there, definitely performance is not there. Based on KRAs or key result areas. That leads to less profit, and also maybe if he's not a team player or there are problems with his peer groups or co-workers. These are most commonly seen bad effects of recruitment. But if you have a real good recruitment going on, the 5 effects that you will see in an ideal recruitment process would be: 1. You will get an able and suitable candidate. 2. Willingness. He is proactive. He takes initiative. He is participative. He or she is participative. Problem solving ability. So new market dynamics brings in new challenges, and with new challenges you need critical thinking abilities and decision making skills. So how are your problem solving skills? Which ultimately leads to high performances, and also in terms of teamwork, how is the score? So in conclusion, we can put forth few things as far as recruitment and selection process concerned. The company can follow a well-defined, sound and effective recruitment and selection policies and procedures. The company can adopt psychometric test as one of the recruitment tests in order to understand candidates in a better way and to know candidates' emotional intelligence, cohesiveness in group, and leadership qualities, etc. And thus the company has a scope to increase the number of employees to operate for its further establishment and expansion of businesses as well. So if the company seeks to intend to expand its business as well, then also this process of recruitment selection becomes important, and also to acquire the best available human resource becomes important. So we have seen in this last half an hour, 40 minutes, is that how recruitment and selection, first we need to understand they are processes, they are set, they are coming from guidelines, and each have a role to play in each of the zone of getting the best candidate. Recruitment has to do with attracting the right talent, first filter. Selection has to do with the process of selection, first, second filter, then the process itself. It could be competency employment, a competency-based interview, it could be employment interview based on the skills that's required, then physical examination, job offer being done, and definitely evaluation, be it of recruitment process or selection process. Definitely there are a lot of psychometric tools being used these days just to screen out or to screen in the right candidate, right type of candidate. It could be the MBTI, it is the disc profiling. There are a lot of attitudinal scores. It could be a lab profile. Now, if you are already working in an HR department, do look into these psychometric tools, which are really good insights as well to understand people behavior better. Even NLP also gives you tools for understanding people behavior patterns, and one of the classic tools that NLP gives is Lab Profile by George Bailey, and those gives a real inputs in terms of programs, because it is being said that humans are driven by programs, and programs are reflected as habits externally, but internally they are programs. Just like this laptop, or which you see across your screen, is a self-driven program. It's being a programmer has programmed it for certain functions. Similarly, human brain, or our brain, we have programmed it through conditioning, through upbringing, through a culture, through a culture. A lot of time we are not aware what programs that we run. Similarly, why I'm telling you all this is from a recruitment and selection process. We are trying also to identify programs. Now, programs will give you patterns. That means a behavior that existed in the past is more often than not will be seen in the future as well. It's not a thumb rule, but still it will be seen, unless if a person does a conscious intervention for change. Things might change as well, or it could be any other associated change. But otherwise, pattern just keeps on following us, and majority of times the person just keep on repeating the patterns as behaviors as well. So if you're an HR employee, if you want to make a real good career in HR, do seek out and find out these tools of psychometric and also of NLP as well, which are very interesting. Great. So in this 1/3 part of our session, we have seen this recruitment and selection. We move on. We move on to the next part. That is about induction. That's about induction, employee induction. So we are kind of having a layered kind of way that we are moving on. We are starting off with, we saw with recruitment selection. So once the selection is done, the job offer is made, then definitely induction. So we need to induct it. So as you know, you're already an HR employee or want to be in the HR department. Induction comes from the actual verb. Induction is a noun. It comes from the word to induct. The verb is inducting. Induct means taking somebody inside the organization. Critical moment for every employee. The reason being, if you have already worked for any organization, you will understand that if you recollect the time very well, our first few days of employment, who inducted it, who coached us, because those are the first impressions of the organization. So when we say of employee induction, first the standard part on the overview, what we will look into. Definition and meaning, purpose of induction, orientation program, requisites of an effective program, problems of induction, orientation checklist, and definitely evaluation of the orientation program and the employee placement as well. Now, induction is also called as orientation, just for information. So this is the flow through which we will run our presentation. 1. Definition. So orientation or induction is a systematic and planned introduction of employees to their jobs. Two critical words in this definition are important: systematic and planned introduction. Very critical for any induction. If your induction is just run-of-the-mill product, you're just coming on, it's not planned, say for example, then you will definitely have a cost to bear, because the first impression definitely becomes a lasting impression. I will not say the last impression, but lasting impression. The impression lasts for longer time. Hence, their co-workers, with their co-workers in the organization. So it's important that two things. One, systematic and planned introduction of the employees with the co-workers and the organization. Now it is designed to provide a new employee with the information he or she needs to function comfortably and effectively in the organization. Now, any new employee, if he is joining any organization, first day typically is lots of nervousness, anxiety and apprehension. If he is new to the job itself, or suppose if it is a first job for an employee, it's always with anxiety coupled up with fear as well. But otherwise also, if a person is day one for the organization, even if he has got an experience of 10, 15, 20 years, always a new experience. It's different. Hence, how the employer receives an employee is important. And definitely, as is applicable to recruitment or selection, it should be a process, not an event. So the purpose, let's look at the purpose. Now the purpose of induction is to reduce startup costs that is associated with job learning. One, to reduce anxiety, to reduce employee turnover. The normal question that normally pops up over here, how is it going to reduce employee turnover? If you have a good orientation, how does there's a less employee turnover? Now understand, I mentioned earlier, first impressions are lasting impressions. I didn't say lasting impression. The first feel is something that people remember for a long time, maybe lifelong as well. So if somebody is inducted well, it gives him an emotional appeal and attachment as well. Induction by design, it's not only just a structure, but it's also a kind of welcoming by welcoming into a family. Now that's where the concept of organization as a family came in, because when we think of family, we are connected to emotions. It's not that you go and work somewhere. So these days, all organizations call them as family. It's say for example, ISBM family, Tata's family. So it's about welcoming into the family. So that gives an emotional bonding and connect. And if you have an emotional bonding and connect, people get associated. And if they are emotionally connected, it's difficult to leave them. So in that sense, it really reduces the employee turnover. It also saves time for supervisor and colleagues as well. So if an orientation or induction is done well, the immediate supervisor really saves time on understanding what the job profile is, and also to develop realistic job expectations and job satisfaction. So when we say of orientation of induction, it is not only about just kind of blowing up in terms of only emotion, but also being grounded and real as well. This is what it is. This is a real hardcore situation, and yet being emotionally connected as well. So you are giving a real good feel about what the situation is and also applying the concept of family as well. So also the purpose remains is the idea is to make the new employee feel at home. I mentioned the family concept, at home concept in the new environment, because if the person is feeling out of place or in a new environment for a long period of time, he might not able to deliver his abilities and knowledge. They always say, especially from an HR personal friends, important to understand is state management is important. When we what is state management? What we are doing through orientation is making people comfortable on day one itself. Now, what does comfortable mean? Comfortable over here means that people are normal, come to the normal state as soon as possible. They say that it's never about lack of resources, internal resources. It is always lack of resourcefulness. We all have good resources to tap in or to pull in. But the point is, our resources, our own resources, we are not able to pull in for the simple reason we are blocked by state. If suppose we are apprehensive, if we are feeling out of place, we can't really pull in our own resource of skills and knowledge so that we can apply at the organizational workplace. So the purpose of induction also is to make the person comfortable, at home kind of feeling, so that he can be rolled in on the day one itself. So you are reducing in a way the turnover or chance of turnover. You are kind of reducing the time and effort required by the supervisor of the department as well. It is also to expedite proficiency as well. So if we are going to induct with some senior person who is working in the same job function, then there's also a transfer of knowledge and skill at a very early and fast level as well. It is to assist in newcomer assimilation as well. So the earlier he or she is rolled in, it becomes easier for assimilation or getting along together, which is part of team building. It is also about enhanced adjustment to work group and norms as well. So every organization always have code of conduct as well. So it becomes easier for the person that he gets adjusted to this very fast. It is to encourage positive attitude as well. So whenever induction or orientation it is done, the company takes great care whom or where this person would be inducted under. There are certain specialists or there are certain people who specialize in induction. That means not only about the job roles to the real substance and core, but also about motivating them, also about showing the clear picture. It's also about making the person comfortable as well. So in certain companies, these people who induct are also kind of specialized kind of people as well, who go on to develop the positive attitude as well. Now, how the orientation programs goes in. So orientation checklist is there, employee handbook and orientation program. The communication pride of the company is given by each new employee, an item with the company logo on it. A lot of companies have a detailed document about it as per the orientation or induction is concerned, where they're given as a document that, okay, in the induction, for the checklist, these all things need to be given, delivered or shown. People actually give a physical document showing the code of conduct, the rules and regulations, the norms, the do's and don'ts. They encourage communication and a sense of importance by inviting new employees to have coffee or lunch with the company's owner or maybe with a senior manager. Now this off the block kind of events, be it sharing a coffee or a lunch, really helps to build relationship with that particular employee very fast. People become comfortable very fast as well. It is to encourage new employees to sample the product and or service the company sells. That is, some restaurant offer new employees a complimentary meal as well. It could be a coupon, it could be a gift hamper, just to have the good homecoming or family coming kind of environment. It reduces stress of starting a new job by pairing a new employee with a buddy. A lot of companies have this buddy culture, where a buddy or a mentorship culture, where a more senior experienced team member is tied up with that new joinee for some time. Maybe for some companies an annual project. For example, ICICI has a mentorship program or a buddy program where a senior person is tied up with that person, same function, and the purpose is a bit of hand holding that is important, that can help coach them through the first few weeks on the job. Here are some ideas to consider when devising the orientation program. So if you are, when I'm looking at you, your prospective HR employees. Few induction things that you should look into. The mind thinks more in images rather than words. In fact, we as humans input information through 5 sensory channels, and these 5 sensory channels are what we see, what we hear, what we smell, or what we say, and what the touch feeling. Out of this, majority of people are visual. That means they think in images a lot. Repetition is the key. They say that Michael Hall, who is psychologist and specializes in human excellence, he says that if a person needs to be ingrained about a new thing, the thing has to be repeated at least 7 times. So the more time you repeat, it gets registered in his awareness. So repetition is the key. This is important. Employee is most excited on the first day of work. So the intention is also that the excitement lasts for a longer period of time as well. Games could be informed for orientation. For example, it could be a photo match after the 2, it could be signature hunt as well. In the programs that or games that it becomes more fun-filled. Fun-filled automatically also means it is induced with lots of humor as well, because humor, it is being said, or lighter moments, it is being said that really eases out the person fast. So once you laugh it out, the bonding immediately kind of the difference disappears and we are close very fast. The requisites or prerequisites of orientation are: the typical orientation conveys 3 types of information. 1. General information about the daily work schedule. 2. Review of the organizational history, founding fathers, objective, operation, products and services of the organization, and how the employee's job contributes to the overall organization needs. And 3rd, a detailed presentation, perhaps in a brochure, of the organizational policies, the work rules, and the employee benefits. It could be fringe benefits, any of these. So orientation is given into these 3 types. The requisite also is to educate the attendees about the history of the company. So herein where the culture comes in. Culture of the organization, having a rich culture, Rich culture could be based on association or gathering. It could be about the picnic programs. It could be about the achievements and performance. It could be about the financial performance of the company and the marketing initiative that is being currently taken up by the organization. It also includes the brief history and operations of the company, products and services of the company, and the company's organizational structure. That means a hierarchy in whichever domain he is inducted into. The reason here being, this is where the person is shown at the first stage itself, okay, these are the layers that he can travel upward in his career progression. Requisites are also seen in terms of location of department and employee facilities. It could be about canteen facility, it could be about leave availing facilities, the procedures involved. It could be the LTA reimbursements and stuff like that. The rules, regulations of daily work, the grievance procedure. Suppose if you have a conflict, if you have a difference of opinion with your superiors or peer groups or co-workers, so what kind of grievance handling tools are available with the organization? The safety measures. Suppose if you are working in a manufacturing plant, so it could be about helmets, the uniform that you wear, the gloves that you are wearing, it could be the goggles, the glare, depending on the work type. And the standing orders and disciplinary procedures definitely are given as a checklist and as a document. Now, standing orders for majority of companies is being shown as a code of conduct, do's, don'ts. It could be about how do you deal with women employees, what are the cleanliness norms as well, what are the security procedures as well, what are the confidentiality reports as well. So these things comes under the disciplinary procedures. The terms and conditions of service also including wages, working hours, overtime, holidays, etc. It could be also in terms of suggestion schemes, benefits and service of the employees, and the opportunities for training, promotions and transfers as well. So till now we have looked into one, definition and meaning. We have seen the importance of induction. We have seen the process itself. We have seen the advantages. We have seen what are the prerequisites as well. Now we will look into what are the challenges or the problems of orientation. One, sometimes if it is too detailed, it can involve too much of paperwork, and too much of paperwork sometimes is a tedious affair, and I hope you will agree with that, because first day of a job, if you're filing in too much of paperwork, you sometimes might think, oh, am I at the right place? Yes, no. Yeah, a lot of times you'll feel that way. So it might be too much of paperwork. It could be information overload. So that since a lot of people are coming and interacting with you, it should not be too much of information or information irrelevance. The information overload can be also information irrelevance as well. It could be scarce tactics as well. So also too much of selling of the organization. Sometimes certain people, when we do an HR audit, it has been also found that they found that the certain feedback that we came across was also that maybe it was too pushy. That means they have the people in the organization were too pushy in terms of selling the product more. This is better, this is finest, is the best in the world and stuff like that. So we need to be careful about how do we push it. Too much of one-way communication also could be a challenge, where the inductee is not given much time to speak or express himself or herself. One-shot mentality. It could be no evaluation of the program. If the program is not evaluated even for induction, it also could be redundant, because the tools that you are using for induction or orientation, or if suppose the organization is doing the same as it used to do 20 years back, oh, there's a challenge, because dynamic market, things keep on changing, and the mindsets are changing as well, behaviors required are changing as well, so needs to be dynamic. Lack of follow-up. It should not happen that the induction just was a one-off day or maybe a one-off week, which was great. After that, there was no follow-up. There was back to normal scheduled work without any real follow from where they left. So the initial excitement will not last long. The maybe also problem could be also in terms of it. The program was not planned. Suppose if the program of orientation or induction goes in a hush-bush, then it could be a challenge. It could be a real challenge. Or suppose the employee was unaware of the job requirements, then also it could be leading to a challenge. Or the employee did not have a sense of welcoming also. Just on the lighter side, of course, this is a paid internship. You pay for the privilege of working here. So on the lighter side, or new Q in orientation, as we discussed of repetition. My boss is great. Okay, everybody repeat after me. Just be on the lighter side. Great. So orientation, when we discuss of checklist, the checklist could be in terms of what all preparation for the first day. These are the HR checklist. Day 1, the schedule. Second day, first week, within first month, 90 days and ongoing. The checklist is designed annually or in a time sorted way. Evaluation of orientation, wherein how is the evaluation done? The employee has to fill in a questionnaire evaluating the program. Group discussion session with the new employee who have settled into the job. Suppose the 6 months have passed by or a year has passed by. The HR person need to discuss with him how has been the journey. Understand friends. For an HR person, we need to understand customer loyalty has become important. So from an HR person, employee is an internal customer, and if he needs to be loyal to the customer, employee engagement is important. So even if the induction has gone well, we need to keep engaging the employee in terms of, okay, have a con call, have a meeting around. How has been your journey for the last 6 months or 1 year? How has the experience? Or what all things are you liking about the job? Do you have any grievances or issues that need to be discussed? And the more the HR person does this as a part of structure and a journey or a process, the chance of he will feel more at home for a longer period of time, and the chance of real turnover of the person becomes less. Verbal feedback from the employees need to be taken up as well. Then placement. The next step definitely after orientation becomes placement, where the allocation of the employee is done now to the right job. So we have, till now we have seen that the bus is full. Now, the right person, the right job. This includes initial assignment of new employee and promotion, transfer or demotion of present employee. The employee placement also includes collect details about the employee, construct their profile. Organization need to have this profile of each employee. Which subgroup of profile does the individual profile best fits in? It might not necessarily need to be based on department wise. It could be on age, it could be on performance based well. Compare the subgroup profile to job family profiles as well. Which job family profile does subgroup profile best fitting? So this is where we try matching profiles. So based on the competencies required of the job, we match with what's available with us in terms of in terms of people. We call this as bench strength. For example, if you've seen IPL or any cricket league matches or any football league matches, we always have a dugout. Yes or no? Now, dugout is a bench strength. Now, here when we say bench strength, we are looking at jobs and the bench strengths available within the organization. Now, these bench strength is then mashed across to see the right person is working at the right place. Assign the individual to job family type. Assign the individual to specific job within the job family, and then followed up by counseling and assessment as well. The difference is, if you see, in terms of good orientation and bad orientation, and these are a real good checklist. If you see in good orientation, the HR welcomes the new employee. The orientation kit is ready because it's planned well. Colleagues know him well since they introduced him well. Colleagues are not prejudiced because they are also oriented for induction. Lunch with senior manager breaks the barrier of being apprehensive. Orientation over a week based on what the company thinks appropriate. Formal and informal things both inculcated in the subset. Bad orientation has to search for HR department. The employee has come on day one and searching where the HR department is, who has taken his last interview. He's kind of searching. Takes an hour to get the place. Colleagues don't know and thinking, who is this new person? Colleagues are prejudiced about it because they're making opinions about who the person is. There's no introduction whatsoever. One day orientation unplanned and no interaction. Typical bad day at office, and especially if it is day one of your job, then you don't have a lasting impression to take back home. Not only on day one, but in days to come. So this is an example of Tech Republic organization where a question was asked for evaluation that do you follow an orientation procedure for new employees? It was put forward to the HR department. 44% represented in the blue block responded yes. We informally follow an orientation outline. 37 said no as well. We just wing it and just there is a procedure, but we don't really follow it. And 19% said yes, we adhere to strict set of guidelines. So this is the feedback being taken, and this is very, very in-depth thing. Also, the types of orientation activity is plotted on the y-axis, and on the x-axis the change in performance and engagement level is also seen as well. Now, if you see on y-axis, the parameters will go one by one. Provides work immediately. The top will go from top to bottom. 2. Introduces new hires to other employees. 3. Clearly explains job responsibilities. 4. Clearly explains performance objectives. Then teaches about group or division, teaches about organizational vision and strategy, clearly explains job importance. If you see that bottom two contributing the maximum for engagement and performance, if you see the new hire will demonstrate commitment when they understand and believe in their job's importance to the organization. So importance has always need to be shown. What is their importance? What is the importance of their job function in the ultimate performance of the organization, which is aligned with the company's vision and mission. So in this last half an hour or so, we looked into what is first the importance of a job orientation or induction. We have seen its definition and meaning. We have seen the process of it. We have seen also what are steps involved, be it a checklist, the planning about it, what all things, it could be a lunch with the senior management, it could be introduction as well. We have seen what all things are a prerequisite for a good orientation to happen. We have seen also what happens if a good orientation happens and what happens if a bad orientation happens. And we have also seen the impact to an example as well, that how if we are touching on various areas in the induction as a process, then their engagement and performance tend to increase as well. Great. So first we have seen recruitment selection, then we have seen induction or orientation. Now in the next 40 minutes or so, we will look into the third part in our session of HRM or human resource management, is about training and development. Now when we say training and development, that has always been a real talked about issue or area where people are aware that training is important, but a lot of times when as far as the practicalities of the organization come, it is thrown under the carpet. So training is more seen as a decorative material than a substance material. I hope you are getting what I mean. Now, it's seen more as a fanciful tool. Now understand, T&D or L&D, learning and development teams, play a critical role for really upgrading people, for skill development, for attitudinal reframing, for change in attitude, for taking to the new level. So we'll look into this session what all things are involved in training and development. So one, as we normally go, the topic outline. Topics that would be addressing in are introduction, the objectives, meaning of training, objectives, what are we looking forward to, importance of training, training needs identification, training areas identified by trainers, types and techniques of training, the need and importance of management development, evaluation of training for sure. We'll also look into why training fails as well. So kind of comprehensively we will discuss one by one each of this. So one, let's look at few people who define training, and it's interesting. Michael Armstrong says that training is a systematic development of knowledge, skill and attitude, or ASK, we abbreviated ASK, attitude, skill, knowledge, required by an individual to perform adequately a given task or a job. So a particular task, it's about training or development about ASK, attitude, skill or knowledge. Not only to install one time, but since training is a process, it's a journey. What Edwin Flippo says as a definition is, it's an act of increasing knowledge and skills of an employee for doing a particular job. The objective of any training is, it is the understand the importance of training, mention the types and techniques of T&D, training and development, explain the types, methods and procedures of training, and also the reasons why training fails, the meaning of training. Now, training indicates any process by which the aptitude, skills and abilities of an employee to perform specific jobs are increased. So whenever a training is being installed for or initiated by an HR team, it's primarily to upgrade their existing knowledge, skill or attitude. Now when we say upgrade attitude, it's about maybe a change or transformation. It is being said clearly that in today's time, the definition of uneducated will not be defined by degrees. It is the definition of being educated will be defined in modern times by how fast you can unlearn and relearn. A very important aspect. It is, I repeat, the definition of education will not be defined by degrees. It will be defined how fast you can relearn and unlearn things. Now, first it requires an attitude to learn and relearn. And this is what the meaning is. So training helps employees to improve their performance in their current job. Since the skill set changes, so people need to upgrade their skills or maybe the knowledge about that particular job or maybe the way they look at the job itself. Because if it's a people handling job, then people management skills are important. So these skills would be upscaled to meet the new challenges of the new environment. Training means acquiring technical knowledge and skills as well. The objectives of training are acquiring intellectual knowledge, manual knowledge and problem solving skills as well. So when we say of knowledge, skills and attitude, the three areas based on which the training is applied on, knowledge could be about the product knowledge, customer knowledge, infrastructure knowledge, company knowledge, competitor knowledge. Skill could be about communication skill. It could be about presentation skill, planning skill, decision making skill, strategizing skill, people skills. Attitude, defining or redefining could be things like taking initiative. It could be about showing proactiveness. It could be about resilience. It could be about forecasting. It could be about visionary thinking. It could be about decision making things. So all these three areas the training is being applied to. Importance: the training is an integral part of the whole management process. It is a cornerstone of sound management. They say if you want to check, one of the dip tests to check the HR team is just to check the L&D team or the T&D team, training and development or the learning and development team. So it's a cornerstone. It is practical and vital necessity. It's called the lifeline of the learning curve. Creating an efficient and effective organization. It helps to improve employee performance. Since we are dealing with attitude, skills and knowledge, ultimately leading to better skills being applied at job front, which ultimately leads to better performance. It's also about updating employee skills as well. Training is widely accepted as a problem-solving device. It molds the employee's attitudes and helps them to achieve better cooperation with company and a greater loyalty to it. Training also helps to reframe mindset, because when we are working in any organization, we need to be able to get along with people as well. And when we say getting along with people, it's important to understand that people are of different types. Every individual has their own essence and beauty about it. So what training helps them to understand that 5 fingers are different. So with these 5 fingers, they not only look differently, their functions are different, their abilities are different. So if you are working with people, be it as a subordinate or as a boss, it's important you deal with people differently as well, because people are different. And that's why training also helps in. It helps to reduce dissatisfaction, complaints, grievances, absenteeism, and also thereby in turn reduces the employee turnover or attrition. So the process involved, we'll go into the first step. First, the TNA or training need analysis. Now, before an organization lays out a plan for training, understand the HR is the person that lays the plan. So before laying the plan, it needs to have a TNA done. That means analyze the organizational objectives, assess the employee needs, and train the employees accordingly. Training needs can be identified with the help of the Thayer and McGee model. It is based on the following 3 factors. The training needs, or TNA, is analyzed on 3 factors. 1, total organizational analysis. 2, task analysis. And 3 is the people analysis or man analysis. So we'll look into this one by one. So 1, the total organizational analysis. When we say a total organizational analysis, it includes things like, number 1, it is the detailed analysis of organizational structure. So before a training plan is laid out, it is important to understand what the structure is in terms of hierarchy, job specification, their job function, what skill sets are required, what attitudes are required as well. Objectives, the human resources and future plans as well. What is the future forecast that is being looked into? Understanding the company's culture and the backdrop is also important. The first step in any OA or organizational analysis is achieving a clear understanding of both short-term and long-term goals of the organization. This first key step before conducting or laying out the training outlay. There are 3 essential requirements for doing OA or organizational analysis. 1, an adequate number of personnel available to ensure fulfillment of business operation. Need to be ensured that minimum this number of people should be there on board. 2, that personal performance is up to the required standards. 3, the working environment of their departments is favorable to fulfillment of tasks. The task analysis. So when we think of task analysis, the task involves things like the activity involves a detailed examination of the job itself. Now, what does the job constitutes of also becomes important. Its components, its various operations, the conditions under which it has to be performed. The focus is on the task itself. Then the standard performances, like every job has an expected standard of performance. Knowledge of the task, which will help in understanding what skills, knowledge and attitude is required by an employer. So if you have a good understanding of the job itself, you can know what the ask is. That means attitude, skill and knowledge. Methods through which we can know what it comes from job analysis. The methods would be the literature review, excuse me. It could be a literature review regarding the job performance, which could be got through appraisals, the job observation, the data collection regarding job interviews as well. So these are the few methods that we can go through. The third, so first is the OA, organizational analysis. Second is task analysis. The third is man analysis of personnel analysis. It is a third component in identifying training needs. It helps to identify whether individual employee requires training, and if so, what kind of training. The primary source of such information could be gathered, 1, by observing at place of work, examination of job schedules, the quantum of spoilage, and clues about interpersonal relationship of the employees. It would be also about interviews with superiors and employees, and also comparative studies with a good vis-a-vis a poor employee. It could be personal records based on data management. It could be the production reports from the organization as well, or the review of literature regarding the job and the machines used as well. Now, the training areas identified from these three, be it from OA, task analysis or man analysis, we get the TNA done. Then the survey conducted to identified areas could be the analysis of business environment. What is the current environment in terms of social, economical, political? General management training consisting of areas like planning, organizing, directing, motivating, controlling, coordinating. Or it could be functional areas such as marketing, personnel or finance. Or it could be specialized techniques oriented programs such as production planning, maintenance management, value analysis, work simplification and interview techniques, or problem solving and decision making as well. So it could be any of these areas. And training, if you see, is the responsibility of 4 main groups. 1, the top management, because there's the strategic management part of it, the visionaries. Personnel department, the HR team. Supervisors, the line managers, and definitely the employees, who would be the part of training as well. Now, according to Professor John Mee, the work of training should be done at 2 levels. 1, the training department takes the main responsibility of giving instruction to trainee, orientation, training supervisors to maintain human relations, executive development as well. And also the second level is the line managers or line supervisors takes the responsibility for the on-the-job instruction to the employee. So it's not only about classroom training, but how the training could be done on the job as well. Instruction in technical and professional aspects of the business. Development of superiors and executives through counseling, and departmental communication staff meeting as well. So when you see it when we come at this point, we have 2 options, internal or external. It could be internal program or an external training. The company has to take a decision regarding participation of the program offered by external agencies. It could be an educational institute, it could be a consultancy, compared to the in-house program, whether this or that. Now, in-house training would be good when the number of employees are large. But for small number of employees, in-house training may not be possible always because of job locations involved. Also, the cost need to be taken care. Many employees can be trained in-house at the cost equal to sending an employee to an external program. The advantages of external program definitely are, number 1, they provide with a fresh breath of air. We have a new perspective coming in. because the in-house program more often than not is is a program which is a very routine kind of program, is a kind of a run-of-a-mill product, and also the upgradation of any in-house program takes a lot of time. So the external program or external trainer comes in with a new breath of air with fresh thoughts. Employees learn different techniques and skills, those offered by in-house programs. If training are there, then the training budgets become important. The training budget have to be prepared for each internal program, and it includes cost of the facilities like training room, food, transport, guest facility and teaching material, wages and salary of employees who participate in training and remain absent from the regular job. The trainer should plan his training activities in advance so that the normal work is not disturbed. The in-house training, a large amount of work has to be done regarding course design, the structure, the methodology, the teaching material, and the admin arrangement as well. In case of external programs, suppose being planned, the factored in elements should be in terms of releasing the participant for training, finding the replacement temporarily, need to be considered before going for an external program. The training methods are a means of achieving the desired objective. It is important as far as training is concerned that you not only do a good TNA or training need analysis, the second part is also crucial. It's about delivery of that material. Now, it is said that if you want to influence people, content itself will not suffice. You need to have good delivery platforms, and that's where trainer becomes very important. So each method is suitable for particular situation, is context dependent. The choice of teaching method depends on many factors like competence of instructor, importance of the participants, program design, etc. And the types of training would be, the training methods are chosen according to the requirement of the design. Now the main objective in individual training methods are demonstration value. Now what is this demonstration value? It's a complete demonstration of a job requirement, helps the training to understand the meaning of ideas, concepts and procedures, wherein the trainee remembers as well things that they see and hear much longer than things that they only hear or see. It's important that you develop interest when you're delivering the training. It's important that the participant gets hooked on. The important factors to be kept in mind while choosing a training method is the ability to hold the interest of the trainee in a learning environment. The trainer should choose training method so that the information is retained for a long time as well. For example, if a lecture method is being used and the audio visual method is used for a project work, just like this is the lecture method. So we have an audio visual also being backed up. Had this training, this lecture would be only audio, the impact would have been reduced by 50%. Since we have a visual backup as well, the connect is fast. There are 2-3 sense organs being connected for better learning. It should appeal to many senses. Many senses means 5 senses, it should appeal to many. It is important to utilize as many training senses as possible. This helps in better retention of learning as well, wherein the trainer should be able to understand and identify problem areas. He should be able to select the appropriate method based on the level of the trainee in the organizational hierarchy. The training method should be cost effective as well. Very important to understand this as well in the overall thing. Advantages. We have the on-job training as well. The advantage of the on-job training being the trainee learns on the actual equipment and in the true job environment. It is economical as no extra cost of personnel is required for on-job training. The trainee learns the rules and regulation procedure by observing his superior or maybe the co-worker together. It is suitable for the company as well, with a number of jobs equal to number of employees. So there are no job hours lost in this. And suitable for teaching as well, for knowledge and skill that can be learned within a short period of time, and because it is experiential, which is learned and retained faster. The procedure to be designed is instructor preparation. Divide tasks into parts to create lesson plan. Select teaching techniques. What kind of technique we are using. Preparation. Put the trainees at ease. Important that it should be comfortable. Relate training to training needs. Example, why this training is important. Maybe in the promotion for better performance. Presenting the task. Present an overview of tasks. Proceed from known to unknown, easy to difficult. Adjust pace to individual differences. Go through tasks and explain each step. Have trainee tell instructor what to do. Try out performance. That means have trainee explain each step before execution on the job. Be aware of learning plateaus to sustain motivation. Because since learning needs focus and concentration, the trainer needs to be aware that there will be learning curves and plateaus. Plateaus where people get stagnated, that people need to keep on. Provide feedback on the progress as well. Follow up. So in training procedure, the follow up means positively reinforce continuously on start. Move to variable positive reinforcement schedule as trainee matures. So you give positive reinforcement of, okay, you're doing a good job, or this is fantastic. I think in a short period of time you have learned the job very well. So give positive reinforcement as well. Certain disadvantages are there as well as on-job training are concerned. The disadvantages are instructors are disorganized and unsystematic and not properly supervised. This may be due to inability or experience. It may be due to the breakdown of job for the purpose of instruction. It could be the lack of motivation on the part of trainee, or it could be low productivity if the employee is not able to develop his skills. The other, apart from on-job training, is the vestibule training. Now in vestibule training, in this method, it is tried to create the on-job situation in a classroom. So these are kind of simulation where on-job situation is created within the classroom setup as well. In this form of training, classroom training is provided with the help of equipments and machines which are similar to those at the workplace. This helps the employee to concentrate on learning rather than performing the job, just to know, have the feel the job. Theoretical training is given in the classroom, whereas practical work is conducted in the production line. The advantages are, as far as vestibule training is concerned, the training is free from confusion and pressure of performance. There is a specific level of skill sets can be achieved more quickly because it's kind of on job. The proper time and attention is given to training. Individual instructions can be given as well. Training activities do not disturb the regular process of production. The disadvantages of vestibule training could be division of responsibilities lead to organizational problems, an extra investment on the equipment. This method has a limited value for jobs which utilize equipment and can be duplicated as well. The other methodology of training is apprenticeship program. Now many companies have their own apprenticeship program. Here the workers are employed and given a small stipend to learn from the job first. After the training is completed, they are recruited in the industry. The advantages of apprenticeship program are a skilled workforce is maintained, training results are immediately seen, the workmanship is good, the hiring cost is lower because if suppose the man is doing a good job in apprenticeship, he is retained within the organization, the employee becomes more loyal and growth opportunities are more since he is coming from a very young age itself. The other methodology could be simulation training. When we say simulation training is about in this technique the actual job conditions are created as nearly as possible. Now simulation could be done based on case studies, it could be role plays as well. This technique is commonly used in the aeronautical industry all the more. It could be knowledge-based methods as well, wherein in this technique the trainee are exposed to the concepts and theories, basic principles and pure and applied knowledge in any subject area. The main aim in this case is to make the trainee aware of the fundamentals as well in knowledge-based methods. The example of these methods are this method: lectures, seminars, workshops, films and training, group discussions, etc. The other method of training could be experiential method. Now what happens in this experiential method is, in this technique the main focus is on achieving through group process and dynamics. Attitudinal training helps an individual to better understand self, group behavior and personal interaction. This helps an individual to understand the problems of human relationship in a work situation. So we are kind of forecasting this kind of situational things might emerge in the actual situation. This training is provided on the job by the worker's immediate supervisor and hence becomes really experiential in big times and big ways. The success of this method depends on following facts. The supervisor must really be a good teacher. He should be given incentives for and time for carrying out this method, and he should know the training needs of the trainee as well. When we talk of management development, what Dr. B.K. Madan has to say that management development is the development of management over and above the science and theory. It's not only about the arts and skills about it, it's much beyond that. Of its practice and application in organizations, corporations and institutions alike in relation to the organization and manager, so as continuously to re-equip both to fulfill their purposes more effectively and in harmony with each other, and both with an environment in which they function and have their being and hope thrive upon and grow. So when you look at management development programs, training forms in corporations or in organizations, there training is called as always MDPs or LDPs, leadership development programs or management development programs. So executive development is defined as improving an individual's managerial effectiveness through a planned process of learning. The channel of an individual should occur in the following areas. It could be a knowledge-based, attitudinal, behavioral, performance and end results. Because understand, all training should go on to lead to a behavioral change, and that should be reflected in results, and that's important. So a success of any executive development depends on the following factors. the trainee's personal characteristics like intelligence and motivation, his actual learning efforts. These two variables are affected by the following factors: formal organization, what is organization type, the leadership culture, the cultural factors, having a notion or framework, the learning itself. The organizational performance management development team wants to achieve the following results. It wants to achieve technical performance, improve supervision and leadership, improve interdepartmental cooperation, find an individual's weakness, attract good people on flow, encourage promotion from within policies as well, look into, make sure that the qualification of key personnel becomes better known, create reserves in management's ranks as well. So it's also about creating bench strength. So even when people leave, we have people on floor who are well equipped to take guard or to take positions or higher responsibilities. Make an organization more flexible by making its members more resourceful and multi-purpose. Improve organizational structure. Encourage junior executives to do better work. Now these are the results that are being looked forward to as far as the organization is concerned. Now we will also look into, as we have looked into recruitment and induction as well, evaluation also is important in training. So training evaluation is done to judge the ability of participants to perform the job for which they were trained, find defects or faults in training provided, if at all there is, and there always exists. Find whether the trainee requires an extra training or not. So it could be hand-picked as well, based on individual assessment or feedback from superiors. Find the training requirements of participants to meet job as well. There are 4 categories of outcomes that can be measured, and this comes from Kirkpatrick method of evaluation of training. Those are: 1, reaction. It is evaluating the trainee's reaction to the program. 2, learning. It is finding whether the trainee learned the principles, skill, facts taught by the trainer. The behavior change, whether the trainee's on-the-job behavior changed after training, or the results, like what results have been achieved after training. So the 4 things that are evaluated: 1, reaction, the immediate reaction after training; 2nd, learning; 3rd, behavior; and the 4th, results. These are things that are evaluated. Then what we see in this evaluation is did the trainee like the program, whether the trainee behavior on the job changed because the training program, did the trainee learn, and what final results have been achieved through this training. So structured interviews are conducted with supervisors used to get a feedback on training. Experimental and control groups are used to take feedback, wherein they are created to find the impact of training. 2 groups are randomly selected. Training is provided to the experimental group while with no training, and one which has done a training, and the feedback is training and found the difference between what impact it had on training. Or a time series analysis, where with a requisite time, required time, it requires phases, it is being evaluated as well with the impact of training as well. Okay, so also we look into why do trainings fail. Trainings fail due to following reasons. 1, the benefit of training are not clear by the management. The top management does not reward the superiors. The top manager does not systematically organize it as well. Or the middle management does not get a proper incentive from top management. It could be also off the training, sometimes teaching techniques or methods which are not really practical to use it. The trainer's limited counseling use. The training program can be made effective and successful by taking care of few factors, like specific training objectives should be framed. It should be determined whether the trainee has the necessary